Hello everybody and welcome to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Action Comics issue 1063 by Jason Aaron and John Timms. Bizarro's battle for Superman's mind reaches its conclusion as the hero teams up with Bizarro Joker to rid his mind of his backwards doppelganger and save the world from becoming Bizarros themselves. Aaron's very brief tenure on Action Comics has been so much fun as he's taking a classic Superman villain and actually doing something wildly different with them. Taking Bizarro from a rather jokey, really light villain to a much more serious threat for Superman to deal with. The best thing about this is it's just such a simple premise to the story and such a simple base premise to the story that kicked everything off, which was what if Bizarro, for a very brief moment in his life, had clarity on how he could defeat Superman, on how he could become a better villain. And Aaron runs with that so damn well and uses that little spark to ignite this really great story. On top of working with Bizarro, we also get to see Aaron work with Joker, albeit a different type of Joker, as things are all topsy-turvy in this world, so Joker is now completely sane. So he's really just a regular guy, and I quite like the idea that Superman, a being with all his immense powers, has to turn to kind of just a mild-mannered dude for help. It's a really interesting take on Superman's use of humanity as his greatest weapon, and a real refreshing creative take on it as well. John Timms rounds out the arc with more brilliantly vibrant artwork, and again, the scale of the battles he depicts is just fantastic, and he has a great sense of geography throughout these panels as well. You're never lost of where anything is or where you are in relation to the characters and everything, and he does a great job of linking it all together and making it all make sense. And especially in a story like this where I could see some people getting confused as like, oh, is this set in the real world or is this set in, Mindscape, which most of this issue is actually set in, but he does a really good job of differentiating between the real world and the fake world within Superman's mind. So speaking of the mindscape, Superman's battle with Bizarro takes place completely in Clark's mind. So we get a look at Clark's inner thoughts, which manifests as a complete one-to-one recreation of Earth. His reasonings for this are great as well, comparing himself to a police officer on patrol, only his patrol is the entire Earth, and he believes that he needs to know every inch of the Earth to properly protect it, hence why his mind is a complete recreation of it. That feels like such a Superman thing to do, devoting his mind to help protect the Earth, and it's a great concept as well, and to my knowledge it's not something we've actually seen before. Aaron is bringing something new and interesting to all of Superman's lore and every aspect of said lore, and I think that's really quite cool, especially because that's not an easy thing to do. I can understand why writers like to bring things back from the past and not try and do something new, because it can be really difficult to add something new and something that is worth writing, and I think Aaron has done that here with what he has done with Bizarro and Superman's Mind Palace and everything like that. I think that's all really interesting things that hopefully stick around in the coming years. So Superman ends up losing his battle with Bizarro and the villain takes over his body, effectively killing off Superman's psyche in the process. This leaves Joker to be the only one left to stop the villain, and he does just that in probably the most Superman way possible, as he uses his words to beat Bizarro into submission. While using words is a real Superman thing to do, it's also strangely a real Joker thing to do as well, since in the past we've seen Joker use only his words to drive people insane or to kill themselves or commit crimes in his name. So Aaron using the Bizarro premise to do the complete opposite of that and have Joker use his words for hope and for good is a really fun use of the character. Joker's verbal assault on Bizarro allows Superman to break free and take back his body, and being that he also had access to Bizarro's mind while the villain was assaulting his own mind, he was able to see the spell the villain used and a way to undo it. This leads to a really cool moment between Superman and Joker where both realize that in undoing the spell, Joker's going to revert back to being a villain, and there's this great moment where they both thank each other for each other's help. Joker calls himself Superman's pal. It's really nice. There's a great moment where you can tell that Superman really liked that he was able to help Joker and make him normal, if but for a moment. With the book coming to the end, Aaron also puts everything back in the toy box, of course, ready for the upcoming House of Brainiac event, but he does leave off on a little bit of an ominous sequence where Superman maybe still has Bizarro rattling around in his mind somewhere deep, but then he's quick to finish up with a real hopeful final page where Superman knows he's in there but pays no mind to it since he's not Bizarro, he's Superman, and Superman doesn't have time for that since Superman's in a never-ending battle with truth and justice. I quite like that. It's a nice little hopeful ending to the story, and maybe even hints that maybe we'll see Bizarro come back in a future storyline somewhere down the line. Jason Aaron's time on Action Comics, while brief, was fantastic. It was creative and refreshing and gave us a new take on Bizarro and his relationship with Superman, turning what many consider a jokey, lighter villain in Superman's rogues into a credible, real threat. Hopefully Jason gets to write another arc on this or a different Superman book at a later date, as he's got a great handle on these characters and they were all a lot of fun, and I'd love to see him do more with characters he didn't specifically get to use a lot in this book. Like, I'd like to see more from his Lois Lane or Jimmy Olsen, or branch out into the Superman family with Supergirl and Power Girl and the Superboys and all of those characters. I think it would be really cool to see what his take on the rest of the Superman family is, and hopefully that happens in the near future. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.